Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Edgy Live Stream. We are here for the next hour. Going to talk some IHSA football. We are going to talk some Jacobs Golden Eagle football. Yes. Well, of course, whenever Coach Joe's with me, we got to have some kind of connection to Will County. And the new head coach of Jacobs certainly has a connection to this area in the Will County area, and we are thrilled to have them with us. So let's bring him in tonight. First of all, the man on the far, and Joe, I always screw this up. I don't know if it's my left or your left or my right. The other bald guy on the end. You know him, you love him, the one, the only, Coach Joe Rodeghero. Welcome. Glad you could make it again.
Good evening, Edge, of course.
So
anything for you.
So I'm assuming the check must have cleared, which is good.
I still can't punch in, though. I don't know what it is. But
and we are thrilled to bring in the new, I guess we're calling you the interim head coach, but we're going to get that resolved soon enough.
Yeah.
New head coach of the Jacob Golden Eagles, Brian Zimmerman. And Coach Zim, welcome. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Happy to be here. Talk some Golden Eagle football.
Yep. As we talked about, certainly your history has a pretty strong tie out here to where we're located, and we, Joe and I, co-host a radio show every week during the football season at 1340 WJLO, which, by the way, we will be back, Joe, as you well know.
They're going to let us on again?
They are, for some reason, the check must have cleared. They are going to let us on the air again. So March 18th, Thursday, before kickoff will be our first show, a 2-hour show. So we are looking forward to doing that. I don't know what it means for the future of the show, Joe. Maybe, I don't know. But again, so Brian, we certainly have a fondness here for the Will County area and high school football, and glad you're a part of it. And you've been a big part of it. A Lincoln Way Knight. Notice I didn't say Central or East or West or North.
Right.
He is a proper Lincoln Way grad, and again played for Rob Zavonar as a sophomore, and at the varsity level hit under Rob Galimi, and pretty good wide receiver from what I remember back in the day.
It's okay.
Yeah, you did all right. And but first of all, let's talk about what's going on right now. You take over a Jacobs program from a Hall of Famer. Yeah, no pressure there, kid. Foots of a Hall of Famer, just like me with Joe every week on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
But again, we talked before we came on. By the way, Joe, Brian and I talked like 20 minutes, so we're done. So we're just going to go. Good night, everybody.
It's been good.
But just fill us in. You take over a program that certainly Bill got established and kind of got going in the right direction, and now it's in your hands. So congrats, and kind of what's the plan for right now?
I appreciate it. Yeah, the plan right now, being with the program for the last 6 or 7 years, obviously when you learn from a Hall of Fame coach, you're very fortunate. You know, started my coaching under Rob Zavonar, no doubt a future Hall of Famer. So my ties to football have been for the last 11 years with two great coaches. So Bill has done a great job, of building this program. So the goal is to just focus on the next 6 weeks. And get our kids motivated. Our kids are hungry. They want to get out there and play. And we've got about eight or 9 practices in so far. And we actually have one tonight at 7:30. So the kids are excited. Really weird time. Not really sure what to expect. You know, you got to be careful with all the COVID stuff. But the plan is not to make a whole ton of changes. Really, you know, offensive or defensively, the kids are comfortable with what we've been doing, and just kind of go from there and just take it 1 week at a time. You know, it'd be nice if we could get rid of some of the snow and just please stop snowing. That would be great.
Yeah.
So you saw me trucking out there the other day.
Oh, no, that was Joe. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but I don't know who was it. Was it your Twitter or someone's Twitter? Had a picture of Coach Zim walking like a lone path out to the football field in the middle of the snow, going to get the equipment to bring it back to start getting ready for probably the workouts indoors. And if you've ever been to Jacobs, you know that football field is not exactly right next to the school. You've got a nice long walk. And Brian, if I remember correctly, it is a very steep kind of slope
to
get to the field. So that alone could be treacherous in the snow. Maybe fun if you fall and kind of slide your way in.
It was up to my knees, that's for sure. We were
Yeah.
able to get that door propped open with the equipment in there, and was able to slide all that equipment out. I had two other athletes that came by after and helped me out, and then we were able to get it all up there. So I know that I don't ever want to go do that again.
Hey, Joe, you know what we call those two athletes that helped?
No.
They're called starters. By the way, Eric Pinedo, longtime Edgy board guy and certainly an assistant coach in the public league for a long time, chiming in, sick of blue pride for Coach Zim. So there you go. A lot of fans out there. Our guy Nate Turner, former Mount Carmel, Nebraska great, and he's got a son that's a quarterback to watch at Chicago Phillips, always checking in and loves the hat. So he loves the Sox hat. And Coach Zim is a Sox fan. So there you go. We got a clean sweep tonight.
That's right.
I didn't bring my hat, although maybe I should have. I haven't had a haircut.
No, you know what? I'm going to tell you something, Coach, right now. You keep rocking that hairstyle as long as you can, because someday
you're going to look like this.
It'll be gone.
That's why we wear the hats.
Going to be gone.
With COVID, you can only get a couple times with that.
So walk us through your progression. I know that you've been at Jacobs for a while, and we talked a little bit before we came on the air about kind of your path, and your path. You took an interesting route. You kind of went the grade school route for a while, but wound up finding your way to the high school level. So just kind of fill us in, and also your thoughts and experience of going to Lincoln Way and playing for Lincoln Way, the Lincoln Way Knights.
Yeah, back in 1997, 98, 99, we had a really great run when we were back to, in one school. And moving on from there, I walked on to Eastern for a little bit, enjoyed my experience there. Kind of wish I would have, stayed that route a little longer. But path took me down, ended up going, the superintendent at Lincoln Way East actually told me to get into special ed because there'd be a lot of openings, and Rob Zvoner offered me a job coaching. So I took that. Did that for a few years there. Found my wife. We moved up here to Algonquin. Never heard of any of these schools up at here, really, except for like Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge. And then I reached out to Coach Mitz, and he kind of gave me the rundown. I got bored a little bit when I was teaching at the 6th grade level. My wife said, "You need to go back to coaching." So I reached out to Coach Mitz. He got me back into coaching. I've been with him, had been with him for the last 6-7 years. So I got a lot of good experiences between the guys that I've coached under. I feel that I've got the experience to help lead this program and continue to lead the program to the success that it's had in the past. And I'm excited. It's not every day you get this opportunity, so I'm gonna run with it through the COVID and see what happens. And hopefully everybody can stay healthy. That's kind of what we're stressing to the kids is don't put yourself in bad situations. Make sure you guys are being smart, because we've got these seniors that we're playing for, and it's a big moment for them. 6 games or not, it's still 6 games. Yep.
Joe?
Brian, I'm gonna go way back to your high school days, and maybe even a little bit before that. I would assume you lived in New Lenox.
Frankfurt.
I've lived in New Lenox for 37 years now. and I'm sure I'm just gonna say that being a football player in New Lenox, you played Mustang football.
You got that right.
And Ron Shaper, God rest his soul, he developed that program, and I knew Ron very well. Ed, you'll be surprised with this. I coached his son Bob in baseball one summer.
There's a shocker.
And when I tell you a quick funny story about Ron, I knew Ron before I even was married by coaching his son. And when we moved into New Lenox, I had to get some things. We moved into the house that we're still in today. And I had to go to his hardware store. If you remember, that's where all the football equipment was and everything.
Ew.
And I walked in. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing here so early in the morning?" I said, "Well, I just moved in last night." He goes, "Wait a minute. We didn't have a meeting about you." But I got the okay for Ron Shaper to move into New Lenox. So I was very happy about that. They had a quick meeting and said, "Yeah, okay, we'll let you in." And 37 years later, I'm still living here. The Mustang program, unfortunately, Bob passed away a few years ago too. A great guy that I've knew when he was 18 years old, just graduating from Lincoln Way. And what did that program mean to you? Now that you're a coach and going back, I remember Mike Allstott played for the Mustangs, and a lot of players either went to Providence or played at Lincoln Way, or some players like Mike Allstock came in from Joliet because the program was so well noted as far as being a great football program as it is today still. And what memories do you have about Ron Shaper?
Papa Shaper. He was a staple in the Mustang football community. We played at Lions Den. It was one of the coolest little youth football stadiums to play in. I played 4 total years. I had to take off a couple years because I wasn't really growing. I'm sure Coach Mitz would tell you that, Zim's not a real tall guy, but I had to play that other sport, soccer, for a couple years, and ended up going back into the Mustang program. But my brother played for the Mustangs, and then the last couple years I played, the Zach Kustak was in it, Nick Piazza, and then you had the Paws brothers, went through that. So that program's, in me and my brother through and through. That's my first fondest memories. When I wasn't old enough to start playing football yet, I'd be on the sidelines doing up downs with my little plastic helmet with the little, the Butler face guard. So that's kind of when I got into it. And my mom always said, "You're too little to play football." And anytime anyone tells me I can't do something, that's doesn't go fit well with me. So I said, football is going to be something that I really enjoy, and it's always been a part of my life.
That's nice. Yes.
So yeah, Papa Shaper and Mr. Keeney and all those guys, all those coaches.
Yeah, those guys coach really forever. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been away from it for a while, but I should go. Now they play over by one of the grade schools.
They
had a brand new. I think it's been there for at least 10 years now. I haven't been able to get over there over the last 5, 6, 7 years, but a lot of those guys, most likely that you had, were still coaching 10 or 11 years ago.
Oh, for sure. Matt, I don't know if you remember the Skulls. I think
Yes.
Mr. Skull was a coach for years. Yeah, a lot of those guys. So a ton of, and then I know Coach Lokank over at Lincoln Way East. He's a Providence guy. I'm sure he's listening right now. So I know a lot of those Providence guys, because a ton of us went to Eastern Illinois together too. So we always give each other a lot of crap. We always wanted to play each other, but somehow it never got set up back in those late 90 days.
No, it never did.
I think Edgy's muted.
Edgy, we can't hear you, Edge.
Hey, you think the host would know better to take his microphone off of mute? I said they were ducking you all those years.
That's what I said.
I said I'm probably fired up about 25 people now to start back and forth.
Well, my first few years at Providence, 79, 80, 81, I believe, we did play Lincoln Way. And I remember going over there as a freshman coach with about 30 freshmen, and they had A, B, C, and D teams. It looked like Canton's first division over on the other sideline. There were so many kids, it was ridiculous. I go, send a couple over to me. I'll take a couple over.
Well, you know what? I graduated there. I had like 1,120 kids in my graduating class. So the last name Zimmerman, it was a really, really long ceremony. So
That's awesome.
I bet.
Was it like a 2-day ceremony? Did your parents camp overnight, or?
I think it started at 5 and ended at 8 or something, and that was just the name calling. So I just remember sitting there.
All right. We got to resolve something right away, okay? And I'm already holding Coach Zim over, so you'll get out in plenty of time for practice, I promise.
It's okay.
But guys, we got to resolve something right here and right now. When it comes to high school graduation, now let's be honest. Whether as a parent I'm there or if I'm not there, are you really going to know as a graduate? So if I'm out in the car or if I'm at the restaurant down the street, and as long as I'm there when you walk off the field after you graduate, is that all that really matters? Am I cheating the system?
I don't think so. It's not when you got 1,100 kids, though. If you had to go to one of those, I'd be getting dinner first for sure.
That should be the guy sneaking in for sure.
No, I've had this argument for years. It's like, okay, I'll get there 3 hours ahead of time. Now, my kids graduated Minooka before they actually built a respectable home side stands, which Joe, you'll get to experience this year doing a good hope. And they had no idea I was there. Now of course you have cell phones, so we were texting that way back and forth, but I don't know. It's just been, no, I'm not a cheater, and everyone's hitting me now. I'm a cheater. I'm not a cheater. I was there. Just thought about not being there. That's all. All right.
That was important.
I know. I know. We'll just cut that out. When we go live, we'll totally cut that out. I'm kidding. All right, Coach Zim, fill us in on Jacobs, what you have coming back, just what we need to know about your team going into the spring.
We got about 10 starters back. Max Steck is a senior. He's about 6'2", 195. He led the Fox Valley in receiving last year. He had like 700 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. So excited to have him. Sam DeLegio will step in at quarterback right now. He's a mobile quarterback. Throws a nice ball. We got Kyle Koziel who will step in at center for George Strajenik. I know George Strajenik went to go play down football in Florida. We've got Jaden LaRosse who will step in at receiver and cornerback. All these guys got JV minutes last year, which in the Fox Valley, that's kind of like our next best game up. Ben Ludlam, I'm really excited to see what he's going to do at cornerback and running back. Fullback, we've got Keegan Connors, hard-nosed kid, great baseball player. Ryan Golnick, a state qualifying wrestler, back at middle linebacker and tight end. Dylan Martinez was a starter last year as a sophomore. I think he's going to make a big impact again this year as a junior. We got more of a younger team. We got about 8 seniors. Most of them will see playing time this year, but I'm excited with the depth, and we've got a few incoming freshmen that I think are going to make some noise. Grant Steck, which is Max's brother, he's about 6'6", 220, tight end / receiver / defensive end. I think he's someone that will make some serious noise in the next couple of years. And then we got another young man named Paulie Rudolph, who I think he's a freshman, doesn't look like a freshman when you see him in the weight room. So I just think that keeping these kids up and motivated and excited, they're all excited to play. I think we can hold our own.
Coach, speaking of those freshmen, and they don't sound like freshmen to me, but being that big. But again, the game plan with 6 games, or and you want to win as many as you can to build momentum and stuff. How much? I know you probably thought about this, and I want your thinking on this. How much have you thought about maybe playing some of these freshmen or sophomores, almost like to get them they're wet behind the ears as far as varsity is concerned for next year, because you're looking at them and projecting them, let's say, as being potentially bigger players for you next fall?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're going to put our best men on the field, our best players. Obviously, if they're going to get the opportunity to play, we will still have that JV game. So if those older kids are up with us, those younger kids are up with us, they're still going to have that opportunity to be playing against higher skilled kids in the JV game. But yeah, it's kind of like a spring ball. We've never had this here in Illinois. You talk to those Florida teams, they get spring ball, the Georgia team. So this is kind of a unique experience. We're not a very senior heavy team right now. So I think with that being said, a lot of those guys will probably see some action, which I think is so beneficial. I remember being at Lincoln Way, getting pulled up as a sophomore for that state run, and going up there for the practices, running the scout team, and how important that was, and the experience that gave me. I mean, it's much different than the lower level football for sure, especially the speed.
Right, exactly.
Brian, your conference is no joke, as you know. And you run the gamut of styles. I mean, you go from the ground and pound of Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge to Huntley's kind of a mix, to you go to programs that'll throw it all over the field. And and what's interesting about your conference, and before we came on, I know we talked about first of all, we talked about how I feel this is such a great football county and area here in Will County. You're in a great football area as well. I mean, there are some great places up in that northwest Illinois area, I guess we'll call it, McHenry County area. I mean, tremendous football up there as well. Great atmospheres on Friday nights, and it's big time for sure. I mean, year in and year out, I mean, Jacobs has been a playoff caliber team in that conference. In your opinion, what does it take to get to that next step? How are you able to maybe get to and then eventually surpass some of those big boys in that conference?
Yeah, I mean, talk about Cary Grove, Prairie Ridge, Huntley, utmost respect for them. I mean, you look at 6A, I think Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge have been in the state championship the last 4 years. Prairie Ridge last year kind of went under the radar, and we knew they were a great team. Cary Grove, always tough, and they're loaded again. I think big thing is just going to continue to try to recruit those lower level programs, kind of like, like with Mustangs, and you got the Junior Eagles and Argonauts and things like that. So, I think just continuing to build the culture that we have, but really we've got to sustain our depth. Sometimes injuries can always hurt a team. So our goal is just to build these young guys. And I think once we continue to do that, we can, the numbers are dropping everywhere. I've heard you talk about it on your show a ton of times, and it's just football. It's a different breed from 20 years ago, and then different breed from even before that too. So everybody's so much more cautious, and I do think the game's much more safer. I know for sure 20 years ago than when I played. I still got my high school helmet. Don't tell Lincoln Way that, but but I have that. It's a lot different than the helmets they wear now. And I think just how tackling is taught is different. So I think for us, staying injury free and just trying to grow with the youth programs is really important.
Don't worry if they happen to send you a bill for that helmet.
It's probably outdated.
We'll take care of it.
We got it's okay.
A farm agent that'll take care of all that.
Yeah, he'll take care of everything for you.
We'll square it away for you. So right now, you mentioned getting back to practice. Kind of, what is the plan from here until March 3rd? And obviously, things are going to change once March 3rd gets here. I got to imagine just from the timing of all this, probably pretty much sticking to the script that you came in with.
Yeah, there's not a lot we want to change right now. We have a winning program. We had, and we want to continue that. So the script's not going to get changed much other than like practice space right now. That's kind of like a weekly struggle getting the practice space. So tonight we'll be in the field house, and we've got the main gym. So the surface on the main gym is a little bit easier to get the grip with the shoes. The field house is a little bit slipperier. So kind of do a lot of our agility stuff. The kids are in shoulder pads and helmets tonight. So we're excited that we got all the pads up, as you saw, so we can at least get a little bit of popping going on. Nothing crazy. We're not taking anybody to the ground.
Right.
So it's kind of a week to week. We go again Saturday for a couple hours. We can only go 6 hours a week, and then just be ready to go. We're going to blink, and March 3rd is going to be here. So, and then like we said, it's week to week. They're hoping to have the snow cleared off. We'll see what happens with that. If not, we got to look for some other opportunities.
You mentioned opportunities, and I'm trying to think, is there, outside of maybe Lake Barrington, is there any indoor facilities up that way?
Yeah, there's a few, like Life Zone 360 is one of them. I think there's a place in Huntley. There's the MAC, which is an outdoor place. I play some flag football up at the MAC indoor during the winter, but you can't wear cleats in there. I think you can wear the cleats on their outdoor facility. And then obviously Huntley's got their turf field, so I imagine they'll have that cleared off like a lot of the other turf fields. So, and I think there's that place, like you said, in Barrington. They do a lot of the 7-on-7s up there, and soccer. That place is huge. It's ginormous. Yep. So yeah, we just got to take what we can get. If not, hope the fields are. There's a lot of snow on there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Joe, by the way, they play on a grass.
That was going to be my question. Grass or turf, Coach?
All grass in this conference except for Huntley. We're all kind of in the same boat. So, just got to make do with what we got and be ready to go. Repetition and being fundamentally sound is going to be extremely important this 6-game season that we have here.
So 2 more questions before we let you go, Brian. And again, loved having you on. It was great.
I appreciate it.
And since you're a Sox fan, you're almost guaranteed to get an invite back. So right. If that's a big deal or anything, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Number 1, can you actually still get screw-in cleats somewhere, and where?
That's a great question. I think I still have my pair from high school. That's about the only thing I can think of. Everywhere I've gone, I don't think those exist anymore. Remember the Nike ones that came with the little screw? Yeah. I think I still have those somewhere. I'm sure my mom saved them.
So it's been pouring for 4 days. You're playing at Prairie Ridge on Friday night. You know what that's going to be.
Know exactly what it's going to be. It's like if they
right. So where do kids get cleats where you're going to get the kind of traction you want to get on a field like that? What do you do?
I don't know. I tell them if they can find it, go on Google.
And like question number 4. No, I'm kidding.
Go on Amazon and see if anybody has an old pair they can find.
All right. You might have passed the question with that answer. It's a good one. The other question, Is there anywhere in particular back in the old stomping grounds, maybe from a food perspective, you got to hit when you come back to town? What is it?
Jameson's Pub right off of LaGrange. They got great burgers and great wings, and they've got great buffalo shrimp. That's where my wife and I would go to dates a lot when we first started dating. So that's kind of like my go-to.
What pub?
It's called Jameson's Pub. It's
yeah.
right on. It's awesome. They do a great job there.
Yep, I've been there.
And then I'm trying to think what else off the top of my head. It's so different. You know, when we would go down Lincoln Highway to get to the old, Lincoln Way when it was one school, that was just a two-lane highway, and you always had to leave at like 3:00 as a kid because it would be. My dad used to go like 3 hours before the game and tape blankets down on the bleachers so they could have their seats because we would jam pack that place. You know, that Thornton game way back when, I think there were like 7,000 people there. It was crazy. So, but yeah, I think that's my favorite place right now to go back is Jameson. My mom loved it too. When we'd visit, we'd always take her up there. So.
And there you go. Eric Pinedo again chiming in. Used to love going against y'all. Especially love those Thornton Township, Lincoln Way. Yeah, those are some epic ball games for sure.
Classics for sure.
Yep. Brian, you're the best, man. Appreciate you joining us. Go out to practice, have some fun, and hey, we're wishing you nothing but the best this spring, and let us know once they figure it out and get smart and hire you as a full-time coach, and then we'll have you back on.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Good luck, Brian. Good luck.
Soon.
All right, Brian Zimmerman joining us, and we appreciate having him on, Joe. And there you go, young guy from the Lincoln Way area. Has got his first head coaching job, and again, done a really nice job up in Jacob since he's been up there, an assistant for Bill Mitz. And he talked about he's been under some real good tutelage over the years between Bill Mitz at Jacobs and Rob Zavonar was a sophomore coach and Rob Galimi was his varsity coach at Lincoln Way, and it doesn't get much better than that. I think he'll be well suited to take care of things up in Jacob.
Having those guys, Rob, two Robs and Bill, I'm sure that he's taken a lot from those guys. And again, as a new coach, and like you said, he's replacing a Hall of Famer. Hey, just be yourself. Just the only pressure you should feel is the pressure that you put on yourself. And I know it's tough. We had Jake Jaworski take over for Dan Sharp at JCA, Cogs taking over for Seth. So we have seen that in our area here. And it might take a couple of years, but I'd say, young man, just be yourself. Take the advice from those, that you've learned from those three guys, and build your own program. And I know it's been a great program, but now it's your turn to keep it going.
Yeah, take it and run with it. It's your gig now, and again, under these circumstances, Joe, it's going to be a little different because you've got a 6-game season. You're already inheriting basically your coaches, your system, which, he's been a part of already. So it'll be a smooth transition, but go out and play and go win some games and get your kids time in. And we were talking off the air a little bit before we started coming on live. And, this, in his eyes, this is kind of going to be like a super spring where you're going to have a chance, as you talked about, be able to work in some of those younger guys, yet making sure your seniors get plenty of time and, and be able to get a lot accomplished and hopefully sets them up for success in the fall and beyond. So
it's almost, again, this, I know we're in these times, but it's almost like a do-over period. You know what I'm saying? You're going to try to win games, but especially in Brian's situation, being a new coach and just trying to put your stamp on it. And he's got 6 games to do it, or 8 weeks, or whatever the season runs. And once he does that, the kids will get excited. I mean, I know they know him because he's been in the program. But when you go from an assistant to a head coach, it changes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I don't care who you are. I mean, it does change. And you have to be the same person. And the kids are going to see that out of him in these next 10, 12 weeks, whatever the football season goes. And it's like a do-over. I mean, I don't think, again, with no state playoff, I mean, a championship, you're just going to try to be the best you can be.
Yeah.
And try your best and play some of these younger kids. And I'm sure coaches of all, the coaches we've had on has said that they're going to try to get some of these younger guys in and see what they can do to build momentum for next fall.
What I find really interesting these days, and you mentioned, and there's some other subjects I want to hit, but we need to take care of a little bit of a business. First of all, Joe, we are -1 tonight.
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer not with us because it is Mr. Dwyer's big 50 birthday today.
Oh my.
Dave Dwyer is the big 50, or to be 50 for you at home. Dewey is 50. So Dewey, congratulations.
Yes, happy birthday.
He's going out to dinner, I believe, with Charlie and the kids. And
so that's another friend over 50 you have.
Another friend over 50 joining the crowd. So there you go. So Dave Dwyer, one of our partners, and Joe, your longtime play-by-play guy, has turned 50 today. So that's why he's not with us. Obviously, sad to hear about the passing of Lynn Lichtenauer from WJOL. Never really knew her, Joe, honestly. I mean, she did the Friday show with the ladies at WJOL, and paths really never crossed, but just seemed like an incredibly nice woman. She was beloved, and, she was I think I saw 26 years or something on the radio station. And trust me, we've been at it for a while too. And you're not doing it for the money. That's for damn sure.
Oh yeah.
You're doing it because you love it. So certainly our thoughts and wishes to everyone, her family, and everyone at WJOL that knew her, and just sad. That's all.
Listen to some of the bites this morning as I was driving to work. She loved, first of all, when it comes out, she loved Joliet, loved helping people in organizations, and I admire people who do that. And as you said, you don't do it for the money; you do it for the love of what you're doing and how you're doing it. And she definitely did that.
Yeah, that was sad to see. So there's some things we need to get into. And I had a coach bring this up to me the last couple of days from a couple of different coaches. So we are, I don't know, we're like 20. I don't even recognize my countdown anymore. 23 more days until we kick off. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone seen any kind of protocols yet on how you're handling locker room situations? I know the whole wearing a mask issue is totally up in the air, no pun intended. People are still unsure and fighting it. I know there were some guidelines sent earlier. Everyone seems to be pretending like that bad report card I had, Joe. I'm just kind of hiding and hoping it goes.
I had them all the time, those bad report cards.
So there's a lot of confusion out there and not a lot of guidance so far. I know people are still wishing and hoping we can pull the 50 crowd limit, since the fact that, oh, by the way, we're not basketball. We're going to be outside for football. So everything tells you, and studies tell you, that changes the dimension as far as social distancing and separating. Joe, and then the snow, as we talked about. I mean, everyone's been clearing. Joe, you were out shoveling today at Lamont, I'm sure.
I was watching them.
Yeah. So everyone's trying to get their fields cleared, and I don't think Coach Zimmerman, I don't think their field's been cleared yet. So everyone's in different phases of getting their fields cleared. There's a lot to be unanswered. We haven't seen schedules officially yet.
No.
IHSA hasn't put anything. We had hoped, and Nate Turner just hit me with this. Thank you, Nate. Vaccinations.
Yep.
It's crawling. It's not going anywhere near as fast as I think we all want it to, which is understandable. But then I hear, and then I know I'm running on a tangent here, Joe, but you're used to that by now. So you got all those questions that we don't have any answers to. Chicago Public League. What are they going to do? Yeah. What are they doing, first of all? And secondly, what are they going to do? Nobody knows. Yeah. I mean, they're working their way back. I guess we can call them contact days. Are they going to play, Joe? I talk to coaches in the Public League. They don't know. They really don't know. Are we going to get some answers?
Is that going to? I wonder if that's going to be Mayor Lightfoot's call, or nobody knows what's going on. I mean,
because
as we talked about several times, there's been no fans at any of these Chicago events. Okay, and that's because she puts the kibosh on all this stuff. But again, with high school sports and as far as players and parents be able to go to the games and stuff like that. I mean, the public league hasn't started basketball yet, have they? Not that I know of.
Yes, I believe they have.
Okay.
We're football guys, so I try to follow basketball from time to time.
I know they're playing around here.
I
but
believe they have. I know it was a delayed start. But by the way, basketball's half done already. They're halfway done with the season.
Yep.
So it's gone that fast. So yeah, and then Nate just texted again. Nate, thanks for chiming in. So the public league is eyeing March 3rd, and I know that they've been able to kind of get back together and start doing some things, but I'm assuming there'll be a sign off if everyone's allowed to play, but do we really know? And the way this thing has gone, Joe, I mean, it can change in a moment's notice.
Yeah, and I think you had some great questions there. I know as far as transportation is concerned,
right?
The boys were talking about it one day when I was in there. We're talking about, and they were talking about how they got to stagger players, one per seat every. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. You're going to need 4 buses or 5 for a varsity team.
Lincoln Way East is going to need 17 buses to bring their team to the road.
That's right. They might just rent a battleship or just a train. Get a big long train.
Yes, that's
national that runs by my house and stops me for 20 minutes every morning. If I don't get out of the house in time, I get stuck by a train for 20 minutes. But it's going to be. I have not heard anything either. And I mean, I talk to Brett when I get to see him every day, and he has no answers. And so it's just like kind of everything else that has been going on with the IHSA and the CDC and all this other stuff, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
We knew going into this is going to be a very much in some regards a fly by the seat of your pants year.
Yeah, exactly.
We know it. We know going in. There are going to be some cancellations. There are going to be some postponements. That's fine. We can roll with that. It's totally fine. And we all need to be patient. I need to be patient. Joe, you need to be patient. We're old guys now, so get off our lawn.
That's right.
But I don't think we're asking anything way above and beyond what I think people need to know going, with practice less than 2 weeks?
Yeah. And that's me. And again, I'm still coaching, but that's the IHSA's responsibility.
That's it exactly. And I'm glad you said that, because look, they have been under the gun, as we've talked about. They've been under a lot of pressure, and a lot of the cases, not necessarily their fault. But when it comes to this, Joe, and they're going to deflect to the IDPH, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Okay. But you should have a plan in place. And if it's a case of, well, it needs to be approved by the IDPH, fine, put it out and tell us. And okay, well, this isn't going to be the plan until it's approved, but this is what we've proposed. At least there's an idea. People have an idea that there's something in the works. Right now, nobody knows anything.
No. And it is sad. And as you said, we're flying by. This is all new territory for us, but at least have something in place that you can try to follow. And if something does happen, well, then you might have to cancel a game, or you might have to reshuffle things. But at least as a coach, you have an idea what the plan is to follow. And if you follow the plan and something does happen, well, it happens. And again, I'm talking about now baseball. There's going to be maybe some cancellations, or we're going to be outside like football.
Right.
But we don't know. Do kids have to wear masks on the field? I know. Again, as I talked to you several times, I'm getting my second shot a week from Friday, and The reason why, I mean, I feel safe at school, like I've said all along, and we're
Right.
50-50 at Lamont hybrid. And the only reason why I'm getting the shot is because I'm coaching. And I just, and being 66 again, too, I mean, you just don't want to get it. And I feel safe at home here. I mean, we wear our masks to go grocery shopping or to church or wherever we have to go. We don't go a whole lot of places, but again, when we start the baseball season, I'm going to wear a mask until the end of the year, and just to make sure. I mean, but again, nobody tells us that the players, we know in basketball they have to wear masks, and everybody that plays inside has to wear masks, but they don't say anything about outside.
Right.
So what's that
We
procedure?
don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, I know. And that's where the IHSA, to me, I know they've been under the gun, as you said, but come up with some type of plan about 5 or 10 things that.
Nothing's restricting you for putting a plan out there.
No.
Putting it out there, because I think it's a positive, because when you float a plan out there, you're giving it to people, let people digest it, and maybe they can knock things around and come up with a better idea. The prime example to me is the 6-game season we have now.
Right.
So okay, this is what we're going to do. Originally, this thing was proposed as a 7-game season. We were going to start February 15th. Yeah, that would have went really well.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous to begin with. You let the coaches knock it around. And again, I realize time is very short on this, but it gets to a point where you have to take some responsibility and leadership and things like this. They need to put something out there.
Right. And again, when you start your practices, I mean, you're going to try to follow the guidelines you had maybe in the fall. And then, with the weightlifting and the stuff that you were doing with the contact days now. And then let's say they change something and you say, well, what do they expect us to do now? I mean, they got to have something before the season actually starts and that's just, I know you feel the same way I do. You have to have something on paper,
right,
and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then we go with plan B and
Yep.
then plan C, and we keep going until we get through the season, see how it happens.
Another thing I think the fans out there in particular are going to have to remember and keep in mind. And I'll tell you right now, from people I've talked about, the overall coverage of this spring season, I don't think it's going to be anything near what we've seen during a regular fall from just a media standpoint.
No.
There have been massive layoffs in the media side and the newspaper side and the television side. All the media companies have gotten whacked big time. And yes. I guarantee you they're not bringing them back for just a spring season. You are not going to see a ton of stringers being brought back just to handle a 6-game season for football. So
you are exactly correct.
You better get familiar with your favorite school and their online streaming and what they're going to be able to do if you want to get to see games, because obviously we still don't know about fan restrictions. I'm assuming we're going to have them. It's going to be very limited. And then if you're looking for full-on coverage and full-on game recaps, I'd be very, very surprised. Even from your bigger papers. I mean, you look at like a Daily Herald, and what the Daily Herald had done, Joe, for years. They do they covered so many teams in the northern, western burbs, and there's been so many layoffs there now, and people have been moved over to different departments. A guy like Kevin Schmidt, who I love Kevin to death. He's my buddy. And to see that guy not covering preps anymore, it's almost criminal because he's so good at it. You're not going to see him back on the prep beat anytime soon. And
as good as I do. I mean, I used to use the Daily Herald when one of our local teams would play a team up there, or even during the state playoffs. I would go online to the Daily Herald to get the synopsis of a Cary Grove or a Huntley or Prairie Ridge. So when I go on with you on Thursday nights, at least I sound somewhat like I know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
But you're right. I mean, it is going to be very hard, very hard.
Yeah. So again, I'll definitely try to stay on top of that and let people know. But even local areas like the Joliet Herald and the Shaw Group, I mean, I'm sure they're going to still do Friday Night Lights and Friday Night Drive, I should say, and combine their resources, which they do a great job with. But again, I'm going to really be carefully watching how many games they're actually covering, where they're actually besides just getting a score and a one paragraph report from somewhere, it's going to be really limited, which, I mean, I understand. I mean, advertising wise, it's going to be a hard sell for 6 games, especially without a playoff. So we'll see.
And again, going back to the old days when I was a head coach in baseball, I mean, there was a reporter out for many of the games because being at Joliet Catholic as a head coach and proud, there was always a guy there. But even when I was at Lamont, you would call the paper and they would talk to you. But how many of those guys are still there? I mean, you give them this, your top hitters and who did well and all this, and they write a little article for you. Yep. But like you said, who's going to be there now? Nobody. You're right. It's just going to be scores and maybe one person rush for 157 yards or whatever, and that's it.
Yep. As far as God, there was something else I wanted to touch upon. We needed to talk about.
Well, I want to say one thing, that our maintenance staff at Lamont did a great job the last 2 days. You can actually see the entire football field at Lamont High School.
There you go.
The green turf. You can see they did a tremendous job in probably a day and a half. And with the weather we're supposed to have, who knows? That field could be dry.
No, I think it very well could be. I mean, no more snow on the roof here. It's all gone.
Yeah, I got a couple spots on my roof, but you're right. I mean, the last couple of days, and it's supposed to be almost. I know it's supposed to rain a little bit on Saturday or Sunday, but be 50 degrees on Saturday, so it's going to melt.
Crazy weather. Why the hell, Joe? Why do we live here?
That's same reason why we're Bear fans. The same. We're glutton for punishment.
Obviously. I don't know. I don't get it.
No other state would want us. That's why we stay here.
We are loyal. We're dumb, but we're loyal.
We're like that old dog that sits in the corner. That's what we are.
Exactly. I'm trying to. There was something else I wanted to cover and I couldn't remember. As far as our baseball team, and of course we have to talk White Sox because we're White Sox fans. And
yes,
if you're a Cub fan, click the little button that says "end." Just go away. We'll talk Cubs when Dewey comes back. We'll talk. Sure. Joe, everybody loves everybody in the White Sox camp. Joe, why do I always get concerned when I see reports of guys that first report to camp throwing 97 miles an hour?
Well, hopefully, yeah, so do I. Hopefully they had a throwing program that they were doing before they even got to spring training, because you're going to blow your arm out for sure. I mean, you've got to – that's why they have pitchers and catchers for the first 2 weeks, so they can, maybe throw 15 to 20 pitches. Again, in the high school realm of things, as you and I talked off the air and talk on the telephone, I don't know how high school pitchers – they got to be throwing someplace right now. And I don't mean, 90 to 100. I mean, just 25 pitches or whatever, just to keep their arm somewhat in shape for when they do go. But I know when we start practice, we tell our kids, hey, 50, I know Ryan Quigley tells our pitchers, 50% the first couple days. And I don't, again, when, like you said, when guys are coming out throwing 97, 98, I just hope that they have a throwing program, and they've been throwing since maybe December.
Yeah.
And throwing 3 or 4 times a week. And
it's crazy. I'm seeing Kopech throw 97 miles an hour. It's like, why? Save it.
Exactly.
Throw 90.
Yeah.
Throw 90 now and then work your way up. But
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's better than not throwing 97. Good start to camp. Abreu's got COVID, and Moncada is sore already from throwing from third to first. So
that means he did absolutely no throwing at all during the offseason. And that's me.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see. I mean, I can see an outfielder having a sore arm. I really can, but not an infielder.
Yeah.
Unless he takes 1,000 ground balls a day.
So what I wanted to talk about, and I think it's important because it kind of covers the spectrum. NCAA, it was kind of expected, but they decided to extend the recruiting dead period through May 31st. And Joe, I know we talk a lot at times about the NCAA and all these organizations and how clueless they are. The NCAA continues to top themselves with this, that they're spinning out into even more cluelessness by the day. And the fact that they decided to continue this dead period for all the way through May, end of May. It makes absolutely no sense. And all it does is hurt kids that are being recruited, kids that want to make visits. And we said this a while ago, 2021 grads have been impacted big time by this. 22s are going to be just as impacted or even more when it's all said and done, unfortunately.
Especially in this state.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're already behind the 8 ball.
yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And
But the one thing that will help, believe it or not, for the underclassmen, these 6 games, if we can pull off these 6 games, at least that's fresh game video.
yes.
That can help. But, you've got kids that just aren't going to get – if there's no spring and summer evaluation, and that's the big part of this, that's 2 years that colleges haven't been in schools in the state of Illinois.
And like at Jacobs in that conference, or like a Wilmington or a Cole, you've got grass fields.
Yeah.
And in the spring, being a baseball coach, that you need nights above freezing for a field to thaw out. And once a football field gets wrecked, it's done for the rest of the year. We know that. We've seen it at Joliet Memorial Stadium before the turf, at Richards High School. I've seen it when I coached at Providence and Joliet Catholic. And it's, how can you evaluate players when you're playing in mud, basically? I mean, you can't. And that's why in this state, like you said several times, they should have did something in the fall with football. If we had the big pandemic, which really did not happen. I mean, I know the numbers were high in November, but ever since then, it's like the balloon popped and everything's pretty well good. But it's still out there. Don't get me wrong. You can still get it. You can still get it. But at least in the fall, it was regular football season. If something does happen, then you just shut it down. I mean, and you don't have a state tournament because it wouldn't be fair to the teams who've been out for 2 weeks, and you're not going to forfeit games. You just can't play them. And you have your 7 or 8, 9 game schedule, and hopefully you can get those games in. But now that you're right, we're behind the 8 ball here in Illinois.
And to be fair, back in July and August, I think everyone thought differently. Everyone didn't know as much as what they know now.
Right.
If we would have known back then that 45 some states would have been able to get a fall season in, maybe that would have changed something. Maybe it wouldn't. The way this state is laid out, I don't think it would have changed anything anyway.
Yeah.
I think we were going to be shut down this past fall, regardless of what happened.
Yeah.
I don't even want to get started on the rest of it, because then we go down the rabbit hole, and I refuse.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So we'll see, but yeah, it's a big impact. I mean, kids are starting to get some offers in the state. We're starting to see some of it trickle in a little bit, but nowhere near what it should be. And again, so your focus from a recruiting standpoint right now, if you're a parent, if you're a player, get to this season. Hope you can get your games in. You can get at least, minimum 3-4 games of good tape in, and hopefully that should be able to help your process. But as of right now, and the college coaches I've talked to, they're not counting on a camp season. So we'll see.
Wow.
Hey, Joe LaPointe watching again. Joe, we always appreciate you watching and contributing, by the way. Have there any modifications in the NCAA clearinghouse? It's a really good question that I'm not 100% sure of. I know that, as far as, test scores, Joe, are you taking ACT, SAT as a school?
I think
that they're going to.
That's a good. I know that's a good question. I didn't see anything on the calendar at school. I know the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors for 3 days in April are taking some type of test.
Then.
But I can.
No, it's fine.
No, what I will do it. I'll ask about the ACT and the SAT, but I'll find out about the clearinghouse. I will find out about that.
Yeah, it's a good question, Joe. I'm not 100% sure.
Either am I.
I know that, admission standards were obviously, test scores were pulled off the table because you couldn't test.
Right.
There was a lot of leeway given as far as on a per school basis, but as far as major changes by the clearinghouse, that's actually a really good question, Joe. Don't have it right now, but we'll definitely Oh, here you go. God, Nate Turner, we're going to have to bring him in pretty soon.
I'll tell you what, he's got to be one of our callers when we start Pigskin Preview.
Yeah, and Nate knows his stuff too. Nate's been around, so no ACT, SAT till 2023. There you go. See, Joe, I could have gotten into Harvard.
No, you couldn't have.
Oh, I couldn't have.
Either could I.
I couldn't get into Harvard High School. Who am I kidding? At Harvard. Although I did go to the
Harvard of the
Midwest.
Yeah.
Southern Illinois University.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
and again, if they're not going to have an ACT or SAT, then they're basically the clearinghouse. What it will do, again, being the head coach back in the day, always asking the kids to make sure they get that piece of paper. They have to pass all their core classes and stuff, and what the grades are, and they go by that. Then I guess so.
Hey teacher, here's a question for you. We got about 3 minutes left. How much have kids struggled with online learning? I'm hearing horror stories based on school regarding a lot of kids struggling at times, grade-wise.
You hear from the kids. I talk to the kids. Like I said, we're 50%, and I talk to the kids, first couple minutes of the class, and then when I wind up toward the end, the last 5 minutes, I talk to them quite a bit about that. Some kids struggle with, they rather, because again, you can, at Lamont High School, you could have chosen to come to school every day.
Right.
And then you could go 50-50 or stay totally remote. Now, I haven't really talked a whole lot to the kids that are totally remote, but the kids that I have in class that are totally remote turn all their stuff in. Now, they could be struggling, and I think all the kids are. I really believe that. And once we get closer to the end, I teach seniors. And when it gets close to the end where, again, who knows if there'll be a prom or grad, what it's ever going to be. Once those dominoes start falling to no, then that's when I really worry about the kids and those seniors. I know at Lamont, the freshman and sophomore classes, they get their 10 to 12 people in class every day. Yeah. My classes, I got 20 kids in both are my classes of seniors. I had yet to have, I got 4 kids in each class that are totally remote, but I get eight kids almost every day at class. So I'm getting the kids that want to come to class are coming to class and they enjoy it. And they're even thinking about trying to get more kids and not going over that limit, but I don't know how you can do that. We talked about that at one of our meetings today. Every Wednesday, the social studies department has meetings. So we talked about that, and I don't know how you can do it, because if you go over 50%, then you got the overflow. So what are you going to do? And again, our superintendent, Dr. Tickner, has done a great job with keeping the numbers and staying in contact with us. And we had a town hall meeting on Monday, and we're staying the way we are till the end of the school year.
Joe, how many days left?
I think somebody told me 58. Somewhere around there.
Okay.
I won't get excited until after break.
Should I start tweeting that out every day too? The Joe Rodeghero retirement countdown.
Once we start Pigskin, we can do that.
There we go. All right. Well, I think that's about it. We're going to wrap things up. Again, appreciate Brian Zimmerman joining us, the new interim head coach of Jacobs, and just a matter of time before he gets that officially. Glad to have him aboard, and glad to have everybody watching and chiming in. Great to hear from you guys online. And we'll be back next week. As I mentioned, we will be back on the air Thursday, March 18th on 1340 WJOL. Thursday nights, I think we're still going to be Thursdays.
Okay.
We'll let you know for sure, probably 6 to 8 again.
Yes.
We might be on this format. We might be not. I don't know. That's kind of out of my hands, but we'll figure something out. So next week we will have senior friend over 50, Dave Dwyer, join us.
Yeah.
So we will certainly razz him once he's in person.
I'll give him some stuff on Saturday. I'm sure I'll see him Saturday when I give Daniel his meetings.
There you go. So that'll do it for Joe Rodeghero. I'm Edgy Tim. Thanks, everybody. Enjoyed having you with us tonight. We'll be back next week. Good night, everybody.